Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening from depending on where you are right now. Hope you are having a wonderful day. I just wanted to first and foremost check to make sure that my audio is coming through here. Uh, Jim, if you are watching or any of our friends are watching, could you let us know if the voice is coming through at the right level? It appears that we have audio, so unless I hear differently from our viewers out there, I'm going to assume that the audio is coming through all right. And with that, I will introduce our guest today. So, welcome to the what I hope to be a weekday, every weekday event of what's called Conversations with Dune and Friends. And today, in terms of friends, we have a very special guest. Tony Ruffo is going to join us on camera here. And we're going to talk for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes or so on a variety of topics. Tony has a very diverse background. And without further delays, I'm going to bring Tony right on camera here, Tony. So I'm going to go ahead and take out my photo here and take out this photo here. And we're going to bring Tony right on camera here. So there we go. That is happening. And hey, Tony.
Good afternoon, Dune.
How are you, my friend?
Good, good. We find ourselves on the internet together again.
Absolutely. It's been, what, a few days?
Well, it's been great being on this journey with you as you've moved into this sort of new phase of your adventures and career interests.
Yeah.
I know that we were testing technology for doing this, and you have just managed to bring together the right pieces of technology. And thank you for creating such a nice opportunity for people in your circles to share their lives. I've been looking forward to getting on with you and maybe giving people an opportunity to get to know me in a different light or know some of my different experiences. As you said, I've had a very diverse career, and I know many people from different circles, but most people, I think, know me from music. And
you bet. Yeah. So today we're going to find out a lot more about Tony. By the way, thank you, Jim. Jim Dick here, one of our wonderful friends in the music circle, and was on this show here last Friday. He said that the sound is good, audio is good. So if it's good enough for Jim, it's good enough for us, I think. So thank you, Jim, for checking up on that for us. And your good buddy Melissa also say hi here, Tony. Can you see that message that I just shared, Tony? Melissa is probably very small, but that's okay.
Hey, indeed, Melissa, how are you, dear? It's nice to have my friends out there watching, which is great.
Yeah. Let me just put you on the left side of the screen here, Tony. Yeah, so that you can be sort of front and kind of in the forefront here. Let me just come back in. So, Tony, let me just do a quick introduction and you can add to it. Now, you have been and are a management consultant in the IT area, so information technology, have owned IT companies, tech companies, as well as certainly marketing companies as well, and have your fair share of international travel and whatever have you, and a lot of work travel as well, and long kind of career in that whole realm as well. A lot of that overlaps with my background as well, so I understand, sort of your history there. And now these days you do a lot of IT work for your clients in Alberta, as well as of course some marketing work and in the music industry, and you're a key player in the sort of connecting people in the local community here, and grateful for the contribution you're making there. We're going to get to a lot of different sort of aspects of your life and whatnot. Thank you for sharing those. But I just want to start with that brief introduction. You and I met probably years ago at a jam somewhere. I have to recall where it was. But so Tony, tell us a bit more about your background before we get into some stories and sharing some photos and maybe some videos and things like that. Tell us more, Tony.
Yeah, sure. So when I was my father was a computer person back in the days of long before the personal computer. He was a Navy man, and he he went to a retreat in New York City with a pastor called David Wilkerson. David Wilkerson was a very famous pastor that had treated the New York City gangs as his mission field, and had done a tremendous amount of work in converting the leaders of some of the most violent gangs in New York to Christianity, and changed the landscape of New York in the 70s. And my dad had gone to a revival, actually, and had found faith at this revival. And he didn't know where he was going from there. And he walked out that front door of that building, and right next door was the IBM building. And there was a sign on the door that said, "Immediate work for retired servicemen." And my father was a Navy man. And he walked in that door and started a 30-year career with IBM, which his love and passion of computers sort of passed on to me. And I was very lucky in terms of timing. When I was 13 years old, the IBM personal computer was just making its way into homes. And I was lucky enough to have a father working at IBM, and I had the 15th IBM computer to leave the dock in Edmonton, Alberta, from IBM. And probably one of the nicest things that sort of came out of that is that the computer didn't actually arrive, but a box arrived with all the books in it, and the computer came along 2 months later. And I think that one sort of shipping oversight probably set me up for a long career in computers, which certainly has been the cornerstone and backstop of financial success and certainly in my career. But I think sort of primarily because I had no computer and just read every book cover to cover. So by the time the computer came, I just I knew what it was about, and went on from there to work for IBM for a number of years. I was one of the youngest managers at IBM in Canada, and came up, installed tens of thousands of computers on behalf of IBM at places like Syncrude and Workmen's Compensation Board and all over the country. I know we installed all the banking systems at CIBC. So I had this career with IBM that in fact, they hired me out of high school. I was working at IBM in high school in the summers. And then I went on to university, and they pulled me back out of university. They had a huge project and told me that they would pay for my university if I came in and just did this project for them. So which we did. And from there, we just I've owned many different computer companies. And in fact, I guess one of the largest ventures that I had, we owned a company called Precision Technologies. And I see Lori LaPlante says, "I started on Lotus 123. Well, yeah, I remember Lotus 123, of course. We had IBM's Multiplan was the forerunner, I think, to that spreadsheet. And I remember when you got an IBM computer, you would get 3 or 4 pieces of software and you felt rich. You could get IBM's Flight Simulator, you could get VisiCalc, and WordStar, I think, was the word processor. But anyway, I was so blessed to have had that early start with technology. And from there, I built many companies around technology, both in networking and hardware. When Edmonton was... when the internet was just becoming a thing. So there was a time before there was internet, and within our lifetimes, certainly yours and mine, Dune, we saw a world that had no internet. And
yes, remember CompuServe? That was our first version. CompuServe.
Oh, that's exactly
back
right.
in the 80s and early to mid 80s, and what was it? 300 baud modem was considered, fast.
Yeah, I remember having an actual acoustic coupler, which is like a modem that, like, you take your phone and stick it into some cups, and that was your modem. I had a 300 baud acoustic coupler.
Yes.
In the early days. So in the very early days, there was no internet, and there was no way for, or really no reason for an end user to be on the internet. But when it started to catch hold, our company was the very first company that you could dial into to get onto the internet. You could, even predating, there was a group called Alberta Freenet, but we had a thing called Alberta Supernet, which was dial-up internet access, and we had partnered with 3 different groups back then, and we were sort of the titans of technology in Edmonton, Alberta. And there was a group of us that installed the first ADSL lines, which is what we use currently to connect to the internet. There were some early versions of that technology. We did dial-up internet. We did internet training. We were into websites and all of those things. I had a thought the other day, because we were so early, like I should be retired in the Caymans. I think we saw it all sort of unfold before us. But I do remember we had a meeting in our boardroom. We sat down and said, "Gentlemen, I don't want us to get too far ahead of ourselves." I said, "Let's not make money from the internet. Let's make money from the people who are going crazy about the internet." And that was our decision. It was, of course, the worst decision ever. We should have certainly invested in every possible way into the internet. These inflection points in your life, you can make different decisions. But I've had a wonderful career. We've owned a number of companies, some small, some large. Our largest company, which we sold, I guess it's going on almost 15 years ago now, was a company called Precision Technologies, which we had 20 staff working for us. And we were building software and managing networks for companies. And we ended up selling that. We had an opportunity to sell it to a consortium of technologists, people that were just breaking into technology. And so we went ahead and sold that, and I went away and golfed for about 5 years after that. One of the things that happened along the way is that I
got any good at golf, though? Did you get any good at golf, though, or were you just enjoying the scenery?
I used to golf 50 rounds a year, and no, I was terrible at it. And for as much as I golfed, Dune, I could not. I think 3 or 4 times broke 90 in my life, but I'm not terrible on the golf course. It's not horrible. In fact, I miss it quite a bit. I was thinking this year that I might take up golf again a little bit. It's just been a hobby that I haven't been into lately. So.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that part of your story and that part of your history, some of which overlaps with mine quite a bit. I got into IT back in the mid 80s as well, and bought one of those first computers way back when, the PC, personal computer. But we'll come back to this for sure, but tell us a little bit more about your musical background. So when did that start? When you just started interested in music?
So when I was a young man, 13, 14 years old, I was kind of estranged. I had a little bit of a difficult situation at home, and I was really looking for a friend, as I was going to say it that way. And my sister was married to a gentleman that was a guitar player, and he got me a guitar. He bought me a guitar and taught me my first chords. And that became a lifelong mental health, happiness, a source of happiness, and a lifelong challenge of learning to play music. So I started back then when I was 13. And from there, I grew up in church, playing guitar for church choir, for worship group. And I ended up being the guitar player for a black gospel choir called Triumphant Sound, which I think you might even know Agnes Brown, who is the leader of. For some reason, it strikes me that you might know Agnes. Is that someone you know?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you knew her. So they had this fired up woman from Oklahoma. She was 5'4" and played the banjo and jumped all up and down and ran around the church. And she was incredibly dynamic, a loving, beautiful person. And she led this choir of Sherwood Park white kids and had them singing really pure, beautiful black gospel Southern music. And I had the privilege of playing guitar with them. And that was really where I grew my guitar skills. In Triumphant Sound, I had the opportunity to play at the Jubilee Auditorium three times. And I also had the opportunity to sing at the Wind Spear, a solo with the choir. So it took me to some neat places. We toured all over Western Canada with this group. But that was sort of my first sort of professional opportunities to play in front of an audience, which there's one thing practicing at home, and your first opportunity to play in front of an appreciative audience is well, it changes you, and you just want to get back. Hi, James Beaudry's out there, I see. So I started there in church, and I remember I used to stop in at a pub and have a beer once in a while called the Hilltop Pub. I don't know. I think we've all a lot of us musicians have been by this little pub. But it was just a little hangout for us all. But every Saturday, they had a jam on Saturday afternoons, which I sat in the corner and watched the jam for about 4 years. I never got up and played. I just got to know some of the musicians. And I remember, I guess it's going back 10 or 15 years ago now. One day I just got up and said, hey, would you guys mind if I played today? And they're, well, what? We didn't know you played. Well, sure, you can play. And that started a whole different chapter in my life where music has... Yes.
There's our listeners are saying there's some crazy echoes going on. So is your setup any different than the way it was when we started?
No, nothing's changed at all.
Could you take the speaker down even further?
Yeah, I will try that. I wonder if we're still experiencing crazy echoes.
Let's see. We'll kind of rely on our viewers to tell us here. But that's why the headphones are sort of an important part, because after you get rolling and whatnot, the sound starts to feed back. Can you turn my volume over there on your speaker down even a little bit more and still be able to hear me?
So I'm there. I'm on the limit of maybe not being able to hear you if I try to turn down more.
All right. So that being the case, let's continue and see if it's any better here. So Tony, keep going.
Yeah, sure. So once I started playing at the Saturday afternoon jam, became connected to the musicians that were connected there. And I became very good friends with the owner of that establishment, and we started. I had pitched him the notion that we should have music bands on the weekends at the Hilltop, and that was my first experience booking bands. So I ran the music program at the Hilltop program, booked two bands a weekend for a number of years. So we did that for about 3 years. And that was my first taste in booking music and creating music events. And taking some of the skills that I had developed over the years in marketing. I didn't really touch on that, but in the course of my years in IT, I ended up connecting with many marketing companies. And in fact, I've owned 3 different marketing companies over the years, and worked for many others in the role of strategic marketing consultant, and helping businesses develop their brand and their messaging, as well as the tactical assets like websites and direct marketing campaigns and those kinds of things. So I had these experiences of being able to communicate, to network, to advertise. And I decided that I really loved music, and I loved the people involved in the music. And I really felt that music as an activity is so mentally and emotionally and spiritually healthy, that I felt like it was an area in my life that I wanted to invest more in, because everyone gets so much out of it. And of course, I was getting so much out of it. So I invested into that, and that launched a career of working in promotions and music management for the last 10 years. I guess I've been doing it in a variety of different environments. And it's funny, at that time, I just knew a few people in the music world. And over the last 10 years, I think, visited every venue that there is in Edmonton, and tried to meet all of the musicians that were making albums and were ready to play, and created opportunities for them to actually play. How are we doing over there, Dune? Sorry, I didn't hear you there.
I think our audience is saying it's much better now.
Oh, very good. Okay, good. Good.
All
So
right.
we have this audience out there, and like I have been a bit of an enigmatic character in my life. As you said, done a lot of things. I haven't seen the questions. I just want people to know they can ask me anything. I'll try and tell no lies and share anything you want to know about.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, folks, for telling us about the echo. We have addressed that echo there. So Tony, now we have some more photos to show, but I just wanted to tell us about the jam scene that you have been involved in for the last little while.
Sure. So Edmonton has a very vibrant jamming community. There is, in fact, some have told me that it is the most active jamming community in Canada, Canadian cities. I know that I have friends living in Montreal and Toronto that simply don't have the opportunities to go and play. In Edmonton, Alberta, when we're not under threat of virus contamination, we have an incredibly active music scene, one of the best in Canada. And on any given night in Edmonton, Alberta, you could go to some venue, put your name on a list, and have the opportunity to play music in front of an audience. And so I have been lucky enough to have been involved in establishing and shepherding um, some of the jams that have been in here in town. We evolved and looked after the Hilltop Jam for many years. The environment there is such that there are weekend warriors, people that learn to play guitar around a campfire and maybe never pursued a professional career in music, but still music was a very important part of their lives, or is a very important part of their lives. And the Hilltop and some of these smaller, what I like to call B jams, give this opportunity for professional players to come together with weekend warriors and some like just home musicians, so that some of those home players can have some of their first experiences performing in front of people, and can grow their talents and share with professional musicians, and sort of get that wonderful experience of playing with players with much more experience and expertise. And I really loved that aspect of jamming, that just everyday people could have this amazing experience of playing with incredible musicians. And I wanted to protect that. And in fact, I've said for years that the Hilltop represents something very, very special in our music scene, and that it just has to be protected. It must continue. And it has now continued for about 12 years. They've had this little jam at the Hilltop. From there, I decided to, I think of music as a little mental health outpost. Every music venue is like a little mental health outpost. And I had a notion that I would establish a jam in every corner of the city and create new music venues. And so I've been pursuing that for many years now. We started first at a place called the Bamboo Lounge. And I don't know who's out there watching, but many of the Edmonton music scene and music fans found the Bamboo Lounge, which was I called it Music Mayhem. So it was a very small place, about 60 people, and we had typically 80 to 100 people packed into this very small room, and the music was just incredible. We had some of the most amazing musicians in Edmonton and, in fact, Western Canada come and play this very tiny little bar, and it became very, very popular. And in fact, I was an unknown probably up until then in general, and when we started doing the Bamboo Lounge, it was received so well, and there was so much fun had by everyone that people got to know who I was. I think during that time, I went from 800 friends to 2,000 friends over the course of a fairly short amount of time. I see you're putting some photos up, Dune.
Yes, I thought I would share some of that.
Yeah, good. So the photo that you're currently displaying is a photo from the Hilltop Pub. It's a newer photo. They put some curtains up, and it's become a very nice venue. They put live music on every Friday and Saturday night, as well as the Saturday afternoon jam. And on stage there on the left is Shauna Marijuana as her stage name. And the interesting thing about Shauna, and one of the really great things that she undertook, we now have in our city, where we never had the opportunity, or never had the um, yeah, I guess the opportunity. We now have three different jams that are ladies only. So we had all these groups of people getting together playing, but the female contingent was not well represented within that. And so Shauna was one of the people that created an event called the Ladies Jam, and uh, and so she's gathered a pretty large group of female musicians, and they're now performing. They call it the oh, I'm going to get this wrong. Let me get this right. The Love Band. Do you know Dune? Their group. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's the Love. Nonetheless, it's really terrific that that the ladies have gotten together and created a separate music scene and an environment where they can go and be comfortable in their group, and they're getting together wonderful music and then bringing it out and performing and having shows and gigs. There's actually there's the a Musical Mamas is another group. So if you're a female out there and you want to find a group of like-minded friends to make music with, those opportunities are there. And if you just leave a note on the thread later, I can put you in touch with some of the women's jams that are available out there. But so from the Bamboo Lounge, we that unfortunately the business wasn't sound, and we worked with the owner to try and make his business viable. But really, the only good thing that was happening in the business was our Friday night jam. So the business failed, and we moved from there. We took some time off and looked for a good venue. And when I say good venue, what I mean is I've played and performed in a lot of dark backwater dingy bars, and I think you and I, Dune, have found some of the shadier, more less upscale establishments in town to make music at, because us musicians will just go anywhere to play. If they'll let us play, we'll plug in, I think, in general. But I was really the lady love jam. Yeah, there you go, Robert. Thank you for kicking that in. Yeah, so we moved from there to a Mediterranean restaurant that was like a 5,000 square foot Mediterranean restaurant, a beautiful brand new establishment, and it called Coco D's in downtown Edmonton. And it's a Lebanese Mediterranean restaurant, and everyone was wondering, what are we doing? Why are we going to make music in this restaurant? Until everyone came and saw what we were doing. And it really was just a wonderful venue for making music. It had great seating and wonderful lighting and a great sound system. And I think our secret sauce was that we had a $16 Mediterranean buffet that still makes my mouth water just mentioning it. It was so delicious. The food was amazing. But we did that for quite a while, and unfortunately there was a fire in the restaurant, and so here we were. We had just sort of moved from the Bamboo, moved to Coco D's. We were having great success. Our opening night, we had 130 people there, and just 2 weeks later, it was my 50th birthday. We had 150 people that came out for my birthday, and it was really a going concern. We had a very strong community, and I think that's probably the best side effect of all of this efforts in music. I love to play, I love to entertain, but the thing that I love to do the most is to create community. And we have certainly done that through the jams. We have a group of people that have become friends, not just people that you bump into at a bar or at a show, but people that we share our lives. We connect and communicate on a daily basis. And within our community, I sometimes call them the misfits. Within our community, there's 50 or 60 of us that are connected to each other, and I see the connections that are being made, even sort of beyond myself, where the community is connected with each other and forms strong bonds and relationships. Which is, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So Tony, being a community connector, I think part of that makes you so gifted and so strong at it is your diverse background, some of which are, as you alluded to in the introduction, some difficult times. Would love to hear about some of those difficult times that you've experienced, and some of the lessons that you learned out of that maybe audience can benefit from, as well as maybe some key insights from that whole journey, if you could share that part.
Sure. I think like everyone, we all go through phases in life. We have different chapters and seasons in life, and some of them are good seasons and bad seasons. And I certainly had wonderful triumphs. I've traveled all over the world in business. I've had the opportunity to lead very large companies, $50 million companies, $100 million companies. And so I've sort of been to the mountaintop of success, and I've enjoyed, at a very young age, I enjoyed great career success. And in some ways that probably made things harder, in the sense that I felt like I peaked when I was quite early. In my early 30s, I was the CFO of a huge company. I was touring all over the world. I spent time in Malaysia and Germany and all across the United States. And I was a very well-respected member of the executive of a large company. And I was married at the time, and just sort of in a blink of an eye, all those things changed. We had a business at the time, and we sold the business, and so my passion, my project, the thing that was consuming me in that business, went away. And then at the same time, my marriage fell apart. And those two things were proved to be sort of too much emotional upheaval and trauma at the time for me to deal with. And I sort of fell into a lifestyle of drinking. I had too much money, and I was kind of aimless at the time. And I fell into drinking. And then it wasn't long before I had tried some of the harder drugs. And over the course of a few years, I fell into a complete addiction to cocaine and alcohol. And really, at the same time, I was doing music and being involved in the music scene, and I was basically becoming an addict. And no one really knew. There were some that were sort of figuring it out, this secret double life that I was living, of using drugs and being out in public. And I know it's such a typical story for musicians and music, and I really want to make sure that I communicate that I don't feel that there was anything related to music or the music scene or being in venues that led to the sort of my fall into that darker time. It had more to do with my own emotional journey and just too much grief. And so I went through this period of time, and I learned a few things. Number one is that a drug and addiction lifestyle consumes love. And what I mean by that is that you're in this mode where you want to take everything from everyone. It's a very selfish time in your life, going through addictions, and it just consumes love. The people around you want to give you, reach out to you, support you, and the addiction will drive you to do terrible things. And certainly I lost a lot of friends, and I hurt a lot of people, more than I know. And I mean, there are even times when I can stop and just weep over the pain that I've caused other people. But I went to rehab, and from there I made perhaps the worst recovery in the history of recoveries. It took me almost another year to sort of get to the point where I wasn't using. And I do recall, in the same way that addictions consume love, in order to become healed and to get set free from addictions, it takes a tremendous amount of love. I remember calling my family and telling them that if they didn't rescue me, if they didn't take me in, if they wouldn't help me, that I was going to end my life. And I was quite serious about it. That would have been not that long ago, probably about 5 years ago. So thankfully, my family took me in. I moved back home at that time. And I was able to have the space and time to recover and to put my life back together, and that's been an incredible journey, actually. Sort of rediscovering myself, as well as um, reshaping my life, as well as I think probably the most important thing is that in this process, I sort of dealt with these pains of these lost relationships, lost businesses, perhaps life plans that I had laid out that were just not going to be as they, they just weren't going to turn out the way I had planned. And all of that resulted in this cycle of grief. We all talk about the 5 steps of grief, and I really went through that process. I really went through that process with going through addictions, and as well as sort of getting through some of these life disappointments. And at the end of the day, when I was there was a day that I was standing there saying, okay, well, I've been clean now for a year, and I really had stepped away from the people that were associated with drugs and world related to drugs, and my hatred of it my hatred of how it consumes people and how it ruins relationships became, it still is very much, I hate it. And but I realized that every day that I spent grieving was a wasted day. And that was I don't know if that's always true. I feel like people need to grieve their sorrows. But ultimately I got stuck in grief, and I couldn't move on, and I wouldn't let go of these pains. And I think one of the greatest turning points for me is the day that I decided, okay, well, I'm done dying, and now it's time to start living again. And so when I decided to turn that corner, it was family, faith, and friends that helped me to sort of come back to life. And there were those that had been hurt through my life as an addict, and that forgave me and accepted me back. I know Jim Dick is out there. Jim was one of the people that had seen me fall into addiction, and knew that I was getting lost in it, and had quietly been a friend and supported. And I remember the day I posted on the internet. I posted just a short post, and I said, "What am I doing?" And anyone that knew me and sort of understood what I was going through realized that I had reached some kind of turning point. And I remember that was the day Jim sent me an invitation to his band page, and it was just his way of saying, "Hey, now that you're going to come back to life, you can join our group again." And so that was very, very beautiful. Just I'll never forget that little show of support. I also am I rambling on, Dune?
No, we're good, Tony. I was just going to mention that we have figured out the source of the echo. Apparently, when I show the picture, now I've been doing this a number of days now, able to show the pictures fine without the echo, but software being what it is, they must have updated something whereby when I'm showing picture is causing an echo right now. So I'll figure that out offline, but I won't show any more pictures until I figure that out, Tony. They have changed the software since yesterday even.
All right, very good.
All right.
I was just about to mention a couple of friends. I don't want to embarrass them, but when I was low and I was trying to climb out of this addiction and lifestyle that I had fallen into, there were a number of people that realized that I was going through something cathartic and significant in my life. I remember Don Miguel Ferrer, who's also a friend of ours from the music community. He would call me every week and say, "Ruffo, how are you doing?" He would say, and I'd say, I'm okay. He says, "I'll be over. I'm coming to visit you." And I'd be like wanting to use and buy drugs. And I would say, no, I'm really busy today. And he says, no, I'll see you in 1 hour. And he would just hang up on me, and he would come and force me to be with him and connect. Because when you fall into drug use, it becomes a very isolating and something you do by yourself. And there were people that simply weren't going to let me fall into this pit any further. And Miguel was one of these people that came to see me every week and made sure I was alive, that I had hope, and that I knew that people loved me. And I assure you, if there were people there around me that were willing to invest in me as a person, in my friendship, even though there was no return, there was no good reason to do it except for love. If it wasn't for guys like Miguel, another person, Jean-Claude Waugh, who a very good friend of mine, also a bass player, musician in our music community, who contacted me 2 or 3 times a week on the phone, came and saw me. These people that came around me when they knew that I was desperate and gave their time, their lives, invested in a lost cause. Like I could never express enough gratitude. Or to the truth is that I'm here today because of people that loved me, that the unmerited favor of people around me. And I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. And so it's filled my heart with a sense of gratitude. So coming out of this, I've climbed out of this hole. I've been pulled out of this hole. And now I hope that I approach life with gratitude and love, and a sense or desire to pay back. I don't know if you could ever pay back love, but to pay it forward to others, to share love, and to find out the people that are lonely, the people that are unpopular, the people that are living in their lives in quiet desperation and feel that no one cares and that no one loves them, and that their life isn't valuable. I just, there's so many people around us. When I was younger, I told you that I had gotten to the point where I was thinking of ending my life, and I was quite serious about it. In fact, I drove my car to the Capilano Bridge, and I walked out on the bridge, and I was going to end it all that night. I remember, I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 in the morning, and I sat in the middle of a bridge and contemplating life and just trying to work up enough courage to end it all. And I had sat there crying on this park bench for hours, and then in the morning, here I am on a bridge, and I'm weeping, and had been doing that for hours. And this jogger came running across the bridge, and I looked up at the jogger, and he looked up, and we looked each other right in the face, and he just kept jogging on by. And I realized after that time that in our lives, we're oftentimes on bridges looking at desperate people, and it's obvious that they're in desperate times, and we just jog on by. And that image has always stuck with me, that we can't do that, that we have to stop and reach out to people and to take a chance. And I don't know, that analogy just came to my mind as we were talking here, but it made a huge difference to me that person who probably could tell that I was in some kind of personal crisis, but getting his morning exercise was more important that day. And I think more importantly, like, we avoid conflict, and we don't want to get drawn into other people's problems. And I've done a lot of intervention with different people. I've worked at the Mustard Seed Street Church now. I've done intervention at reservations in Alberta. I've done a lot of outreach work in a variety of different contexts. And I realize that there are boundaries, that if you want to make a sustainable life where you can help people continuously, that you have to have boundaries, because it will consume you. It'll consume your emotional energy. But at the same time, we can't be so closed in that we have no love to share. I feel like we're here to love and to learn about love. And but nonetheless, these things sort of made a difference and brought me to a place where I feel like I have something to offer to others. And I've decided to do that through music and also through business help. I do a lot of different business activities. Most of my business activities these days have a charitable aspect to them. I have or some kind of investment within a community. I have a heart for our Aboriginal community. I did a lot of work in that area. It's a very, very sad circumstance. I know I spent a week in Fort Resolution, which is a community in crisis. I could tell you some statistics about that place that would just break your heart. But we were doing some kids outreach, and I met this young girl, and I said something silly like, if I did that, she was goofing around on a snowmobile, and I said, if I did that, my dad would have beat me. And she turned around and looked at me, and this little 13-year-old girl, and she says, "Oh, does your dad beat you too?" Like it was just a question. It was just no big deal that her dad beat her. And I got to know a lot of those kids up in Fort Res, and 70% of the girls before age of 13 had been molested by a relative. 50% of kids drop out by grade 6. We have so much pain in this world, and we've created so much pain. Our ancestors, in the way that we took this land from the indigenous people, and the residential school thing, and all of these things. So, but I've tried to spend some part of my life paying forward into communities, trying to make a difference. I feel like many of our country's problems, our community's problems, our province's problems, our 40 and 50-year problems, we've completely created cultural genocide with our Aboriginal people, and then we elect politicians that have a 4-year mandate to fix something that's going to take generations to fix. So I sometimes feel like we don't play a long enough game to actually to address any of the significant social issues that we have. But that's again another little aspect of my life. I've tried to invest as much as I can. I worked at the Mustard Seed Street Church, which was a real eye opener. We did a lot of different things through there, but a lot of it was intervention and just helping keep people fed, and helping connect people that were in despair with some source of hope. And but now with music, I feel like we do that as well. Like we have a Thursday night, and I know that that Thursday night for many people is the best part of the week. They look forward to it all week. And I really feel like my job these days is to create fun and to create this guilt-free period of time where people can be themselves, where they can express themselves, where they can be surrounded by people, like-minded people that love them. And within that place, it's a safe place. And our hallmark, our badge will be love, and music will be our tool, and we'll look after the people that come to us. And that's really, I think, what's been magical. We restarted the jam called the Uptown Blues Jam, and it's also been an incredible success. I'm so blessed that I've enjoyed such support. But really, the great success, I think, of the Uptown Blues Jam is the spirit of it, the notion that we're here for each other, and that community is the community. We call it our tribe. This is our tribe of friends, and that community has really become very, very special to many of us.
Yeah. Music, as they say, is a universal language, and is the ties that binds many of us who otherwise would not have met. Different background, different professions, different stages of life, and perhaps obviously different philosophies and all of that. And yet, when we're on stage together, or when we're in a venue together, or when we're playing live together, even online, it just blur all those boundaries. And I know you and I are have met through music, and I know you and I have continued our friendship through music, and also other connections, whether it's business or whatever have you as well. I know that the Uptown Blues Jam is still able to continue during COVID here, and you probably got a number of players signed up for tonight, Tony, and after this sharing, perhaps a few more might join you in this journey.
Yeah, that's right. So just to let you know what we've done. So, of course, COVID and this global pandemic has changed all of our lives. And it's been, I think, unsettling. I because of this little virus, this little pernicious contagious virus that we can't control. It's very, very unsettling that there's something out there that we can't see, that we can't control, that we can take precautions, but all of our precautions may not be enough. And it's incredibly unsettling that we are sort of at the power of this little biological thing. And I know a lot of people have a higher anxiety, higher stress, and there's a greater occurrence of depression, anxiety, and boredom, I think. I know alcoholism's on the rise. And so what we decided to do, we had this wonderful music event on Thursdays. And of course, like everyone else, the event was closed when COVID came. And we decided that we would try and continue to allow music. Robert, music for mental health. I agree, my friend. Absolutely. That's exactly what we do. We call it music therapy. So we decided to continue our music therapy as best we could. And we decided to have an online jam where we would, in the same format as a jam, we would have one performer after a next. We would do short 3-song sets. So across the course of an evening, an audience would be able to take in 8 to 12 performances, which is kind of a nice variety show of music, and especially for people who may not normally take in a lot of music. This is a great way to go and take in a couple of hours and see 10 different performers. And so we started doing the Uptown Blues Jam online edition, and we tried many different technologies and approaches to getting it done. And we were sort of at a loss. In fact, I was thinking of not continuing forward, and sort of in desperation, I reached out to you, Dune, and I knew that you were putting together some of the technologies around being able to broadcast, and I talked to you a bit about whether you would like to be involved in it, and thankfully, graciously, you agreed to be our production engineer, co-host on the Uptown Blues Jam on Thursday night. So it's this evening at 8 p.m. And Dune, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm just not seeing your video moving around anymore. So, so I asked you, Dune, to help us out, and things got incredibly much more professional, much smoother. The presentation of the music was much better. So now on Thursday nights, we have an incredible a lineup each week, and we also have the benefit of Dune Wynn's magical technical ability and his studio. So I just want to say thank you, Dune, for adopting us and making it so much better. Like, it changed it all.
My pleasure, Tony. Be able to assist along the way, and I'm sure at one point you'll be able to master the same technology, and you'll be completely independent there. And happy to be able to bridge the gap here in the meantime.
Yeah, so we transitioned to some different technologies, and Dune's been sort of co-hosting and engineering with us. Every week we put out a post that invites people to sign up. I think this week there's 3 or 4 people only, but of course on Thursdays it fills up quickly. So I'm expecting that we'll have a dozen or so musicians tonight. And what we do is we post that. There's a group called the Uptown Blues Jam. I don't know if you can put that on stage or put it on screen, Dune. But there is a group called the Uptown Blues Jam, which you can join, and all are welcome. And we'll post the live feed at about 5 minutes to 8 tonight that you can join and watch the feed. We broadcast from a different platform, which we then stream to Facebook. But you can find us there. You can find us on my personal wall, which feel free to send me a friend request if you're out there, as well as many of the players share it. I think it was shared 40 some times last week. And we enjoyed about 30 or 40 audience members last week. And it feels like it's just growing and growing. I had 10 requests to join the Uptown Blues Jam last Friday morning. So
I would put up that thing normally, but today, because we're having that echo feedback problem with the software, I will avoid photos for today until I figure out what they did with the software. The software is relatively new, and it is trying to catch up to sort of the standard here and making improvements, and it looks like they might have goofed with something there. I'll troubleshoot offline, but so Tony, let's sort of round the corner here and sort of take us home with some, if there were some key highlights that you wanted to kind of have our viewers remember about this conversation, what would those 2 or 3 things be? Pearls of wisdom, if you will, from Tony, who's been far to the extreme and then be able to come back and then there and back. And, you know, anybody who's taking that journey has a lot to offer in terms of perspectives and insights that are real. So maybe share a few kind of pearls of wisdoms.
Sure. Well, a couple of things. Number one is when I first started in music, I had all this energy. I love music, and I realized that there was a place for me, that I could find a way to express my passions for music. And I realize now, as I look back, if I had known how much music there was, how many different bands there were, how many different venues, how much work was already being done, if I had as much perspective on it, I think, as I do now, that I might have been scared away, that I might have not have pursued that career. And to be honest with you, it's been one of the most rewarding career paths that I've ever chosen. And so one thought I have, I know when you're building a business plan, you research all the competition, you go out and do it. But the reality is that in every business, even if it's being done by someone else, in every business, there can be a place for you. And if you have a passion for something, don't let the fact that there are competitors stop you, because passion trumps most things. If you believe in it and you pursue it, what I have managed to create is exactly the right level of activity, the right level of work, and the opportunity to create amazing events for people that have been incredibly rewarding. So my first thought is, stop looking around at what other people are doing. Stop finding reasons not to pursue your dreams, and simply move forward. I'll quote one of my favorite people right here, Mr. Dune Wen. Every what is it? Every good idea worth doing is worth doing badly. This is it. Have I said it right, Dune?
It was G.K. Chesterton. So the quote came from him that I sort of shouted out. That goes, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. So obviously you want to get better at it, but you got to just start, kind of crawl at first, and then eventually walk, and eventually run, and eventually go for the Olympics. But you don't start with the Olympics. You start with crawling around and be willing to accept that that's where we're at the moment. So yeah, I think your wisdom is really sometimes knowledge can be a problem. Knowledge is great, but if it prevents you from doing the things that you really need to do, because it undermines your kind of passion and confidence, it could be a problem.
Yeah, so I had that notion that I was just so foolish that I just ran. I had this vision of my early music career like Wile E. Coyote from Bugs Bunny, that I was just running, and there was like Tony-shaped outlines in every wall. I would just like run into everything. I had so much passion, and not everything worked out, and there were wins and losses, but I moved forward, and I would say, like, that's one thing that I would leave people with, is that notion. Bands, I book a lot of bands. I do a lot of scouting with bands. I even represent some bands, and one of the things that I would give to anyone who's a musician out there is that if, like, the first step, the very, very first step is, of course, get some rehearsal in and get some great music. But put a show together. There's so much advice. My brain is just, there's so many things I could share. I guess a few things. And bands don't necessarily always do well about telling their story and presenting their music, their their experience. And music is an experience, not just a performance. It's an experience. And in fact, I've said it to many people many times. Out of 10, you get 2 points for show. So that's 20% of everybody's impression. And in truth, it might be higher. I know we've all been to shows that had lights and crazy things going on and pyrotechnics and all of these things are super exciting and they create an experience of fun. And we've all been to bands that had masterful music and were incredible players, but I almost without fail, if you talk to audience members, they're going to levitate towards the big show, because the experience is what they're after, what they crave. And part of that experience, of course, is great music. But so my advice would be, number one is don't forget about the show. It's 2 points out of 10. Number two is take time to invest in your marketing materials. Have a website, have example of your music, have quality video. Actually spend some money and go get professional video done. Get some professional recording done. It doesn't have to be a $10,000 recording. There are many choices that you can make for under $1,000 just to put some marketing materials in your hands. So that's just some general advice for bands. The other thing that I find that bands don't do is there's a great old adage that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Mm-hmm. And the bands that have pursued me relentlessly, it's like someone will call you and say, "Well, we really want to come play," and it's like they're like knocking on the door. "Hey, we really want to come play. We really want to come play." Well, by the 10th or 12th time, it's just like, "All right, I just have to like shut these guys up and give them a gig." And I've always appreciated the tenacity of salesmanship. And Aria's out there, 20% note, 80% attitude. Miles Davis, you're absolutely right. So be relentless, be audacious, reach for what you want, never slow down. Constantly, the bands that I see doing very, very well, not only are they playing and getting every gig that they can play, but they're also making smart choices and networking with people that are moving in a similar direction. And so there's some great opportunities. Right now, I just wanted to mention there's a group called we have the Starlight Room, which is an Edmonton venue and has been for many, many years in Edmonton. It's quite famous across Western Canada in the alternative music scene. And I just want to give a shout out to Tyson Boyd. Tyson, I don't know if you're out there watching, and Judy is related to the family. But the Starlight's been around for a long time, and they are currently producing isolation concerts at a place called Starlight Sessions. So if you're taking notes, and I expect you all are, you may want to take down a note to check out Starlight Sessions. They're producing some incredible contacts. And
you just went sideways there, Tony. You're back. You're coming back on in just a second. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, so the Starlight Rooms, there's another, I noticed James Beaudry's out there who has been producing some isolation concerts through a group called iView for You. IVIW for You. And I just wanted to give some of the listeners, some of the audience, some of the places where we're finding good music. There are some really great opportunities. Musicians, they've stepped up. Musicians love to play, and when we have no venue, it can be hard mentally on us. I mean, it's just how we're put together. Those that entertain, it's what we love. And so it's been terrific that there's been opportunities online to stream concerts. And so even this is a wonderful opportunity, Dune, to be able to chat with you and have the opportunity to get to know people. A lot of people know me standing in front of a microphone and, announcing, "Thank you for coming down to the Uptown Blues Jam." And, being that guy. And so it's been great to share a little bit more of my life and maybe some of my thoughts and insights about it. But there's lots of great music around, and I invite you to come and find it. This community is still alive. We're all still connecting. Um, Make a list. Sit down and make a list of the people that are close to you, and make a decision that you're going to be part of their care team. And I promise you, if you adopt a group of people and make them part of the people that you're going to look after and care for in this crisis, in this difficult time, that they'll also adopt you. And I guess it comes down to love grows when you give it away. It's not like you're taking a piece of your love and now you've lost it. It's not how it works. It grows, and so you take from yourself and you give it away. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, if you cast your bread up, if you cast your bread upon the water, it'll come back to you. And I've
Mhm.
always had that experience when you always had that experience that when you give love away and when you invest in other people, that it always comes back to you. So maybe that
Right.
would be my thought about all this.
That's great, Tony. I think one of the themes that I sort of see and hear from all of your conversation, particularly today, is the idea that musicians, however passionate and however kind of however they are first and foremost humans. So if we remember as we watch musicians and as we play with the musicians and jam with them and as we perform, that our humanity kind of shows through. I have met and play with, have ability, a privilege to play with many diverse individuals of all kinds of backgrounds. So I think music is just one aspect of who we are. It's a big aspect of who we are for many of us, but really humanity is the underlying kind of commonality that we all have. And I think today's talk, you really highlighted that aspect, not just the musician part of it, but the humanity part of it and how it all kind of goes together. You talk about giving love to get it back and whatnot. A lot of time in business, I talk about creating enlarging the pie, creating a larger pie so that you don't care if you only get 1% of the pie, because the pie is so much bigger than it was before. Whereas before we were working with a pie where it was just two of us, and you get 50%, I get 50%. That's okay. But if it was only 1 inch pie, but imagine if we work together to create a humongous pie, then it's okay that we only get 1% of that pie. It's a much bigger pie. So I think it's the same concept there. Hey, Tony?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's just that very notion that we took what we had, which was special, and we grew it. We invited more people to it, and more people came, and it became more special, and more love, and
Mhm.
more musicians, and but really the underlying sort of enabler in all of that was a spirit of love. And
Right.
everyone that walked through the door at the Uptown Blues Jam, and really any of the jams that I've been involved in, we're a community of love, and everyone is treated equally. And I've often said this other thing is that I collect ego-free musicians,
Hmm.
and what I mean by that is that this is we just don't have room for the prima donnas and the people that there's some great players and they set themselves apart by their music. That is not our community. Our community is one where some of the very finest players in Western Canada even come and play. We have a young 16-year-old kid that's been coming to our jams because we have an all ages venue, and Cole's been coming, and he's been taken under the wing of like some incredible. Like I can't imagine this young. He's 15 actually. This 15-year-old kid having these kinds of experiences, but like someone like Riel Fagnon, one of the finest guitar players in Western Canada, being able to get on stage with him and showing him how to play different things. This kind of support and love. Music is a mentorship program. No one gets better at music unless that we have uh, people to support us and raise us up and bring us along. And those people that I feel are true musicians that really support the music community are the ones that understand that they are mentors and that they need to share and pass on their skills, their knowledge, their experience. We're only here a short time. And I think COVID puts us all in mind of that notion, and that life is precious. And I have this notion that we should always be behaving like we don't have much time, and that we need to get every experience and opportunity out of this life that we can, and as hard and fast as we can. And one of those, and that particular being a music mentor is this one sort of way to pass on this knowledge and to younger people. And like the music that I'm playing came from 100 years ago or 50 years ago. Can you imagine the songs that we're playing are 50 or 70 years old and still have worldwide uh, um, recognition, and are still important to people's memories, and mark the progress of our lives with songs. I could tell you a song for almost every moment I've had in my life. There was a song playing that I connect with. But we have that great opportunity as musicians to pay it forward, to make an investment in young players coming up, and to share with people uh, sort of this mysterious world of being a musician. I'm I'm humbled by the audience that are in love with us, that are amazed by what we do. And I feel I always tell people I'm just a beginner, and I'm by far not the finest musician in Edmonton. By far, I'm a pretty good host, and I organize things all right. But I'm just a beginner musician, really. But I'm constantly humbled and amazed by an audience that is fascinated by the world of musicianship, fascinated by the lifestyle, fascinated by sort of everything that goes on. And there's so many people. And well, thank you. If it wasn't for all of those people, we would be just playing with ourselves, I guess.
Yeah. So, Tony, thank you so much for such a wonderful conversation here. And I know many of our viewers out there are still hanging on here. We have run definitely well over time, and I was very aware of that. But given sort of the viewers out there, and given the sort of stream of consciousness you are still streaming through there, we ran over, and we want to really hear from you in terms of the imagine this is the last song. This is the last song at a jam. And you're going to take us out, Tony. You're going to take us out with whatever you want to in terms of selection. Now, you're lighting. Okay. And so, yeah, whatever you want to share with our viewers who has been watching quite intently here. At this moment in time, Tony, I can still see 10 viewers still hanging on
Oh,
here.
wow.
Yeah, we have been
Well, thanks.
about
I wondered if maybe some of those viewers have questions they want to have answered.
yeah,
Um,
well, they have been commenting. So if there was any questions, but actually, let's just ask right now. Do you have any questions for Tony at this point? I'll just pause here and see if they have any before you start your final kind of final song here for us before we close out the night. But yeah, there's been like 15 people, 17 people on various times. We ran over by quite a bit, on purpose, partially because of the kind of how interesting the content is that you're sharing, and how interested our viewers seems to be. And the other thing is we had some feedback problem there for just a little bit. And so, Tony, take us out with your kind of final thoughts here as we wind this down.
wow. How do I sum up
It's your
all of
song. You can
this
pick your
into
tempo. It could be a
a
long
cohesive
song. It could be a
notion?
short song.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pick up my guitar and maybe play a little song for you.
Up to
Um,
you. Completely yours to take us home.
First of all, I just want to say it's been my great honor to have met quality people through music, such as yourself, Dean, and many others. Some of the finest people that I've met. I've had this wonderful life where I've traveled all over the world, and I've been in these many different business and social relationships. I've had very deep church relationships. I've been a deacon. I've been a CEO. I've been all of these things. But the most amazing people that I have met, who are consistently some of the nicest people, are the people that are music lovers and music makers. Our community is filled with soulful people, sensitive people, self aware people, and love. there's so much love. I find that, well, we have the Uptown Blues Jam, and COVID really impacted us, apart from shutting us down. But in the early days of it, when we saw it coming, I remember meeting with the band and the team and saying, like, what are we going to do? The jam's going to be ruined. And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, well, we're not going to be able to hug anymore. Is it even worth having the show anymore if we can't hug? And because it's that kind of place, people will walk in and someone will stick out a hand to shake hands, and we'll say, oh, I'm sorry, it's not that kind of place. This is a place where we hug. If I had to say anything, leave no man behind. I have this notion. I have friends that are locked into their homes because of. I had a friend that got pushed into a wall and ended up having a nail into his head, and it changed his whole life. And now he drags around half his body, and he has a hard time getting around. And if we, like, Dave's a quiet person, he'll just sit in his box and. Like, if we don't take the time to invest in people that aren't calling us, then we'll lose them. And I really feel like if I want to leave you with something, is that I would invite you to build your community, look after the people around you, do the things that you need for your mental health. But I feel like if you pay into other people's lives, if you share love with other people, and do that in a practical way. I'm not talking about investing to the point where your own personal mental health is at risk, because that can certainly happen. You can sort of overinvest and you can lose yourself in it. But if you're careful about how you do it, I really encourage you to not just reach out to those people that you really want to spend time with. We all have our besties and people that we talk to every day, but that you also consider the people that you haven't talked to, the uncool ones, the quiet kids in the corner, and